In Mexico, fine tequila is considered in the same class as Cognac, Armagnac, and Champagne. If you have slammed a shot or two of not-so-fine tequila, you know it leads to a little wildness, a little stupid, and a big hangover. The Vancouver International Tequila Expo aims to raise the profile of Mexico's most famous spirit. It is my pleasure to welcome Lorenz, Tequila Expert, educator and organizer of the Expo, to Studio 4 to tell us more.
Thanks for having me.
Tequila, tequila, tequila. It has quite a reputation, you know.
That's true. We are aiming to certainly improve tequila's reputation in Canada with the International Tequila Expo in Vancouver.
And where do you start? First of all, you start with an agave plant.
That's right.
Or the growers do.
Yeah, exactly. So the blue agave is typically harvested after about 8 to 10 years of growth. Mm-hmm. After that, and make no mistake, harvesting an agave is not like harvesting grapes. The plant does die, and you're taking the heart of the plant. You strip all the leaves off of it. Preferably, you strip them till you have a white core that looks like a giant pineapple.
Right.
And so therefore they call it either the cabeza or the piña after pineapple.
Right.
And then after that, you crush it, you ferment the juice that you get out of it, and then you distill that twice.
You distill that twice, and then
Exactly.
you get a platinum, a blanco, a something else-o. and what determines that? What determines if a tequila is primo?
Well, the number one thing is simply 100% agave tequila.
Okay.
Right? And the process matters as well. Some big producers use a machine called a diffuser. A diffuser is something that essentially exists to cook raw agave. Sorry, let me start again. You actually shred raw agaves. Not yet. Okay. I'm actually better after I've had some tequila.
Me too.
As many people
We all are.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
You actually shred raw agaves and just cook the juice in that way, and that's very economically efficient, but you lose a lot of flavors and aromas. So there's that element too, and nobody tells you that on the bottle. Right. So 100% agave, not diffuser produced, is certainly preferable, and then you're in good shape with great tequila.
Okay, and the region important?
Well,
like
there's
in
only
wine, you know, from the champagne can only be champagne if it's from France.
There's only, that's right. So the region is primarily Jalisco, the state of Jalisco, with small portions of 4 other states: Nayarit, Guanajuato, Michoacan, and Tamaulipas. Primarily, however, 97% of all tequila is made in Jalisco.
How did you get into the tequila interest business?
Well, that's really funny that you asked, because, and you mentioned when we were off air a little bit about Sammy Hagar. The funny thing is, I started off as simply a rock and roll fan, Sammy Hagar fan. I've seen Sammy 24 times. I'm a bit of sort of one of those stalker fans, maybe. And when he came out with Cabo Wabo tequila, his effort back in 1996 or so, I was like, Sammy, I'm buying whatever you're selling. If you're telling your fans to drink Cabo Wabo, I'm there.
I'm there.
And so I started off with that. My tastes have certainly expanded beyond that. I had a chance last week in Jalisco to visit the distillery where the original Cabo Wabo was made, and it was like visiting a little bit the Holy Land.
I'm sure for you.
Exactly.
Was Sammy there?
He was not. No, well, it's no longer made there. It's no longer made there. But
of course not.
But one of the tequilas.
He's selling too much of it.
Well, it's true. They moved to a bigger distillery. No, it's no longer connected with that distillery.
Okay.
However, one of the tequilas we're tasting today is from that distillery.
So tell me about that. Where should we start?
Well, so we've got 2 Blancos here, 1 Reposado, and 1 Añejo. Now, the reason we have 2 Blancos is because certainly the region matters a lot, and within Jalisco there are 2 primary regions where tequila is made. One is the valley.
Right.
That's at about 5,000 feet of elevation gain. Some people call it the lowlands, but it's higher than Grouse Mountain, so I'm not calling it the lowlands. Right?
No.
And that area includes the town of Tequila, the town of Amatitan, and the town of Arenal, a number of other towns that produce tequila. And then there's the Highlands region, which is around 8,000 feet of elevation gain, characterized by iron-rich red clay soils and a higher diurnal temperature variation than the valley, I should say. Why that matters is because the agaves in that region, because they're subjected to cooler temperatures, a slightly more hostile environment, they concentrate their sugars a little bit more.
I see.
Than those from the valley, which is mostly hot all the time.
So when you're doing tasting notes on the Blanco, and I assume you do this with tequilas, you taste and you test and you spit, maybe.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. But so you pour a little bit of Uno Mas. Is it Uno Mas?
Yeah. So Uno Mas tequila, that's a good one to start with. That's the one on your far right.
Stage left.
That's right.
I won't be drinking this yet, but I'm smelling. So you smell
this,
the Blanco?
What do you think about the smell?
I'm not a tequila expert.
Well, what I get, I actually get some mild notes, certainly of lime peel, and a little bit of a hint of cinnamon. Mild sweetness there.
Right.
And some herbaceousness. Maybe it's mint, maybe it's eucalyptus. I can't really pick those out of a lineup in a blind tasting usually, but.
Okay, but Blanco means, again?
Blanco is simply white tequila that has not been aged. Now I will say that you're allowed to age it up to 59 days in barrels, and so it would acquire a very, very pale straw color. If that happened, almost nobody does that.
Okay, well even the smell gives me a little hit. Have to
Excellent.
say.
That's a good thing.
Maybe because it's just after breakfast.
It is just after
So when you
breakfast.
taste it like
Second
wine, you
breakfast now.
swirl it a bit, you do this, so that's the first bottle.
That's right. Uno Mas
Uno
tequila right here.
Mas. And then we go to number 2, the Azuña. Azuña Platinum.
Exactly. Azuña Platinum Blanco. Now this one, the first one was made with a combination of highlands and lowlands agaves. So a little bit of a different taste from that one. This one, the Azuña Platinum Blanco, is all lowlands or valley agaves.
Okay, of course it is, and it's got agave on the bottle. And what price point are these?
So the Uno Mas is around $45 to $47 in BC. Azuña is about to be in BC. It is one of the tequilas people will taste at the Vancouver International Tequila Expo, but it's not yet here.
So it's not cheap and dirty tequila we're talking about.
Not at all. No, definitely not.
This beautiful bottle.
Yeah, exactly. T1 Tequila Uno Estelar, which is their añejo. This is aged for 20 to 24 months in Scotch barrels that were former sherry casks.
Wow, so you sip this.
Absolutely.
This is not shooting tequila.
Absolutely. And in fact, when I nose and sip this, I get interesting aromas, for instance, of Oloroso sherry.
Okay, very much so. And is this colored naturally, or is caramel?
This is the natural color of the barrel.
That is the barrel, so it's like oak barrel or whatever, and it's...
Exactly, yeah. So American and French oak are typically the barrels used for all of tequila. A very few tequilas are experimenting with other oaks as well.
Okay, now this bottle.
Yeah, so Tavi Tequila.
Magnificent. There's a woman, a beautiful figure in the top.
Indeed, yeah. She's there. She's right inside the little globe there. This one is a tequila from the Highlands region, an area, they say Los Altos, and an area around the towns of Arandas, Atotonilco, and Tepatitlan.
Okay, made by?
Well, made by a local distillery there, but the brand was invented by a local guy, Tavi Egertson, and his partner, Stephen Pauls.
From here?
Tavi lives in White Rock, yeah, exactly.
Really?
Yeah, he's got...
Well, my liquor store manager, on 16th, said, this is great tequila. And it's a great story because whoever, Tavi, decided that he didn't like some tequila, so he'd make his own.
Exactly.
Tavi must have deep pockets. Perhaps.
My understanding is that might be true.
Well, okay, but it's such a beautiful bottle, and that's part of it. But it's what's inside, and that's not an inexpensive tequila.
No, definitely
not. Tavi.
Yeah, that's right.
What about $90, $100, somewhere in there?
I think he's a little higher than that.
Higher, 150,
maybe 120-ish.
120. So now you're sitting around the fire at night, and instead of sipping the cognac or the brandy or like an Armagnac, an aperitif.
Absolutely. Well, these are all appellation of origin spirits, just like cognac and Armagnac. So appellation of origin.
And is this the Tavi here?
That one is the Tavi, yeah. So I believe they're using Jack Daniel's barrels. I hope they don't tell me later, oh boy, you screwed that up.
Yeah.
But I think
so. You have to go to the Tequila Expo to figure out what it's really all about.
That's right, and you know, you come down to the Tequila Expo and you will hear all the stories of the place and the barrels and the human labor that it takes to make tequila.
To put it all together. Can you grow agave in other places?
You can, but you can't make tequila out of it.
I see, so it's like champagne.
Exactly right.
If it's not France, it's not champagne, it's sparkling wine.
That's right.
So where does mezcal fit in?
So mezcal has its own appellation of origin. That appellation now, today, or denomination of origin, that appellation today is the state of Oaxaca and 7 other states. In fact, the state of Michoacan was just added because it is a traditional production region.
And it sometimes has a worm in it.
It does. So value-priced mezcal, I'm being euphemistic there. I'm sure the viewers can figure out what that means.
Yes.
May have a worm in the bottle. Yeah.
I think I ate the worm once, many moons ago. I shouldn't even admit that, should I?
Well, that's if you were a wild woman once, there's nothing wrong with that.
I guess, and I'm all settled down now, so I sip the finer stuff, you know. So Vancouver Tequila Expo, Vancouver Convention Center, Saturday, May 12th, 6 to 9. Sipping, tasting. What would you pair with this food-wise?
Well, with a blanco, something like a nice ceviche with scallops, for instance, and fish. With an añejo, especially T1 Tequila Uno Estelar añejo. With that, for me. This is for dessert. I'm not sure I would pair this with food. I would pair it with a cigar or
a cigar.
Yeah,
okay,
sure.
Of course
Absolutely.
you would. How nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Eric Lorenz, Vancouver.